hand this out to you. This is your vocal cords. It's not something else. You may think that. As a diagram, this is basically vocal cords are contained in your larynx, which is called your voice box. It's made of cartilage. And then, as you see, the vocal cords are just thin layers of skin that are controlled by 3 different muscles. The arytenoid muscles, there's 2 of them, and the thyroid muscle. And why this is important is, without getting into the anatomy, you need to know that your voice, your body is your instrument. So you need to take care of it. Like I say in here, guitar players can smash their guitar on stage. You can light your guitar on fire, but if you thrash your voice, it'll haunt you forever. And that's important to know. So, a lot of singers will talk about breath a lot, and breath's very important, but oftentimes what I've found is most people overthink their breathing. So you need to learn how to breathe correctly with your diaphragm, which is like a parachute-shaped muscle that's connected to your lungs right here. And how it works is, when it contracts, it pulls air in. It's not responsible for blowing air out as a muscle. Only when it relaxes, it pushes the air muscle. When people talk about pushing the air, they're talking about their abdominal muscles pushing and contracting. But I want you to learn how to breathe correctly, and then don't think about it too much, because most oftentimes when people do that, they overpush their breath, they're singing too hard, and then they throw off their vocals early in the show. So I want you to remember that.
And we'll do a little exercise with that later. After we use a little overview, we'll go back and do some of the little exercises that will help you identify those things and help you kind of make a connection and demonstrate how, if you don't use it, you won't have half as much power as you will.
Yeah, definitely. You want to learn how to use it, how to use it properly. Don't overthink it. So I think that one of the first things you want to think about is your mouth and your jaw and the shapes that your mouth makes. Control the tone and the resonance of your sound. You don't want to be singing with a clenched jaw. And Shane's going to go into stage presence and stage performance, and we need to talk about how that affects your vocal performance. If you ever watch a classically trained singer, they don't move around a lot. They kind of stand in one place when they sing, and that's because your vocal cords are using air provided by your lungs. And if you're moving your muscles around a lot, muscles also use air through your blood. So that's why you start moving around, you start breathing harder, you don't necessarily have the support for vocals. So it's kind of a paradox, because you want to put on a great stage performance as a rock and roll singer, but you want to sound good too. So you need to learn how to sing properly and then understand how stage performance works with that, and then you can draw the line where you want it. As long as you know how to sing right, you can play with it a little bit, and you can get as physical as you want, but at least you'll know the techniques to recover properly, to warm up before your show. So we want to go over that with you individually before that, because it's important to know how to sing properly so you don't destroy your voice. Shane was talking to us about he tours a lot, and it's important, if you play night after night after night, you got to know how to recover and how to sing properly, or you won't be able to sing night after night after night. You'll sing one night, and it'll take 2 days to recover for that before you can sing again. So the basic shape of your mouth, you want your jaw to be loose. You don't want it to be clenched a lot. This is for a good technique. Obviously your stage performance can dictate otherwise, but you want to sing with a nice open mouth, like that. And so I provided some exercises in here to warm up. Before you actually start your warm-up training, is you want to do some exercises where you open your mouth, you drop your jaw all the way. You hold that for about 3 seconds. Then you want to drop your larynx. And if you look in a mirror, you'll know that you're doing it, because your tongue will almost not be visible when you drop your larynx. You hold that for about 3 seconds. And then you want to wiggle your jaw, like that, back and forth. And that's just loosening you up. Just because you're dealing with muscles, you train just like anyone else trains with muscles. Lifting weights, any other athlete, when you're dealing with muscles, you're dealing with training. So these are things, you're stretching your muscles before you actually work them out with singing. And there's also breathing exercises that you want to do before you do your singing exercises, which you should do about 3 to 5 times a week. Don't become your embarrassment, especially when it comes to practicing. You need to just set aside time, 15-20 minutes a day, 3 to 5 days a week, and practice your craft. You wouldn't want a guitar player in your band that never learned how to play guitar. You should learn how to sing. Whether you use 100% of your vocal training, you're going to use it without thinking about it, just because you practice all the time, and that's going to help preserve your voice. and I'm a big advocate of recording yourself practice, and I know you'll hate it, I hated it when I did it, but that is going to be the #1 correction for pitch problems. Because most people, when they're off pitch, they can't tell. They think they're singing on pitch, and they're not. And if you record your practices and you're hearing it, you can't argue with yourself because you're going to hear how bad it sounds. And it's going to suck, but that's the best thing, and you'll learn quickly to train it'll train your ears to hear that you're singing in pitch and not in pitch. You'll be able to hear it more often when you listen to yourself practice. And you should practice in front of a mirror so you can make sure that your mouth is doing the correct shapes, that you're not raising your shoulders when you breathe. And once you've been doing that for a while, it becomes second nature, and you don't need to record your practices anymore. Your pitch will get pretty good. Your shapes will be good. It'll be second nature, and like we're saying, then you won't need to think about it anymore. But I'm a big advocate for at least maybe 6 months. Record your practices, listen back to them, even videotape them, so you can see if you're using any crutches. For the longest time, when I was taking lessons, my teacher used to say, okay, you're trying to hit that high note, pretend there's a laser beam coming out of your head, and I would always do this when I was trying to sing a high note. Well, if you record that and you see that, you go, I look like an idiot, pointing to God or something when you're singing. So it's good to record yourself, it's good to see your crutches. If you open up big, you can use that to sing, but you don't want to rely on things. You want to be able to sing naturally, and it'll be second nature. So the biggest thing I can say is practice. This is your craft, this is your instrument, you need to know how to use it. It'll help your stamina. Just like singing night after night after night will improve your stamina. You'll recover faster. Practicing will help your stamina, so that when you first start playing, you'll be able to make it through the
stage fright
show.
will be gone after the 3rd show.
It'll give you confidence.
No, you still get it? You still get it?
16 years and I'll still throw it before the show. It doesn't ever completely go away.
It gets easy.
But you kind of use
what?
it.
Yeah.
Use it to your advantage.
That's the point I was going to get at. It never goes away, but you learn to use that because it keeps you on your toes. If you're not scared whenever you go on stage, then you're overconfident and then you're going to mess up.
And the little bust of adrenaline doesn't hurt either. If you're like, oh crap, and you can't get started, and then you get nervous, and then it's like, oh, okay. If you really have rehearsed and you really know your material, then the adrenaline really will help you.
There's not a day that goes by whenever I'm on stage where I don't at least cry. One time on stage, because the emotion is just so overwhelming. You can totally feel what you're doing, and these guys know exactly what I'm talking about whenever I say this. There is at least one point in time while you're on stage where everything just seems to click. And you'll know exactly when that happens, and it's the coolest feeling in the world. I'm getting chills now thinking about it. Look at
I
that.
am too.
And it's just so cool because it's like you're looking out in the crowd, right? You're totally keeping it in it. You're acting out all your aggressions, and then you're laying back on the soft stuff. And then you can see everybody in that crowd staring at you, just getting into it. And then there's that 1 second where you know that every single person in that entire place, I don't care if there's 6,000 or if there's 6, every single person at that one point in time is feeling exactly what you're feeling, and that's the coolest feeling in the world. I cannot begin to describe, and that's why I do what I do. It's because of that.
Having what he said about practice, that's the key, because you can't have that communication if you don't have the foundation and the ability. Your natural ability, you are a natural singer, but you practice so much that that now it comes out and you have that opportunity to get the reception, the feelings that you get out of it, and it's like a high. And what he was saying about the communication with the audience, it's the same thing with the musicians that you're singing with, or with like in the case of classical, if you're singing with an orchestra or something, when you have to meet up with that high B flat at the right moment, and it has to be a certain shape in a certain way, or else it's not going to come out, it's not going to convey. And when that happens, and it all gathers up together, and your audience, you can see them go, and it's like, oh my God, how beautiful! You want to share that kind of experience with, and be that vulnerable. You want to be something that is transparent, and you want to be fearless about being transparent. You want to be up there and be strong, but not resistant. You want to invite them in and be so strong that you can handle that energy, and it's a really big part of it for me.
All around as we watch, we're so gallantly streaming,
And the rockets
the rocket's red glare gave proof through the night that our flag